This is the Highly Sensitive Club, episode number 33.
Have you been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Stephanie Lynn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club.
Hello, highly sensitive person, and welcome to this week's episode of the Highly Sensitive Club. I adore personality tests and frameworks and anything archetypal. It is a miracle that I haven't gone into Jungian psychology yet at this point, because I love to talk about these frameworks and personalities. I've done pretty much all of them. You name it. I've done the DISC assessment. I have done the Myers-Briggs. I've done the Enneagram. I have, of course, my Harry Potter house, which is Ravenclaw. I'm getting into human design, and there are just so many cool frameworks and ways to think about all of these things. I know that a lot of people are against personality types and against personality tests because they feel like it's unrealistic to try to separate everyone into a few categories, and that you can't separate people into these easy groups and then just assume that they're going to be exactly like the archetype in every single way. This is true. We are not people who can be fit into tiny little boxes and suddenly we do everything in that way all the time. I also think that knowing each of your personality types and all of these different things actually helps you create a really interesting picture that is completely unique to you. The more that you learn about yourself, which I know is something you like to do, highly sensitive person, the more that you can incorporate these things into your life, have more awareness, and then be able to move in the direction you want to move in. In particular, I was thinking about something that has come up a lot lately in my group coaching, in my mastermind, and in my one-on-one coaching sessions. And that is the idea of motivation. Everybody wants to know how to get motivated in a way that doesn't feel icky or stressful, because I bet you, like a lot of us, are really good at judging yourself or piling on the shame or the guilt because that's worked for you. Trying to avoid negative consequences and getting in trouble is, in some ways, a great way to get things done. Unfortunately, it's also not sustainable, nor is it enjoyable. You want to have more meaning and more depth in your life as a highly sensitive person. And that means that you do not have to use a stick every single time in order to get what you want. There can, in fact, be a lot of benefit to having a carrot. And in fact, a lot of us highly sensitive people do not do well with the threat of consequences or something looming over us. We do much better thinking about how we can contribute, what we're doing actually makes a difference, and the reward that's on the other side, whether that's the relief or whether it's the satisfaction or the joy or the fun of doing the thing that we really want to do. Today's episode is about the Four Tendencies, which is the motivation system that Gretchen Rubin, the writer and just all around cool human being, came up with. She was studying the way that people were motivated and found that there were some people who just couldn't make themselves do the thing that they wanted to do no matter what they tried. And there were other people for whom it seemed very easy for them to create new habits and try new things and just move forward with very few challenges. And she thought, well, what's the difference? So, of course, she started studying it. There's a fabulous book that she wrote about it called The Four Tendencies. And it's about the four motivational styles that she identified that I think you as a highly sensitive person would really, really benefit from knowing. The four types are, number one, the upholder. Number two, the obliger. Number three, the questioner. And number four, the rebel. Each of these four types has to do with whether you're externally motivated, internally motivated, motivated by both internal and external circumstances, or if you're motivated by neither internal or external. That is going to be a fun one to talk about. The first one, the upholder, is when you are able to be motivated by both your internal motivation and external motivation. This means that if you decide you want to learn a new skill, you're probably great at learning a new skill. And if you have a deadline for work, or if you owe someone an email, or if you are putting together a walking group or a gathering, you probably are good at following through on those deadlines as well. This can also mean that if someone else wants you to do something and you want to do something, you might get into the situation where you're trying to do all of it all the time, all at once. I am an upholder, so I create my own goals and follow through in addition on deadlines and requests from other people. And it can be very easy for me to turn a simple idea into an entire project when I don't need to. The second type, the obliger, is the most common. About 60% of the population are obligers, and that means that you are more motivated by external forces than you are internal forces. If you've thought, I should really go to the gym, or I should really start exercising more, and if you don't have a personal trainer or a walking group or a friend to do it with, or some other external accountability, you're very unlikely to do it. There is nothing wrong with you if you are an obliger. It just means that you can harness your motivation from external people to your own benefit. And there's some really interesting ways to do that. The third type is the questioner. These are people for whom only their internal motivation is how they get things done. They are not one to be susceptible to arbitrary requests or ways of doing things that other people tell them. If someone else wants you to do something and a questioner doesn't see the reasons for why they want to do those things for themselves or the benefit to doing it, they're not going to do it. They have to find a reason that actually works for them, or they're not going to follow through. Questioners are aptly named because a lot of times, in order to get to the point that they're internally motivated, they need a lot of input and they need a lot of information. So they ask a lot of questions. This can be very annoying if you are an obliger or an upholder, because you're like, the reason is because someone asked you to, or because I'm asking you to. So it can be very irritating when a questioner in your life is like, well, why is that so important? Why do you need me to do it? Do I have to do it now, or can I do it later? What's the meaning behind this? How does this actually affect all the other things that we're doing? It might be very irritating if you're not a questioner, but as a questioner, this makes so much more sense because you want to gather enough information that you feel like you can make an informed decision for yourself. And the fourth type is the rebel. The rebel is neither externally or internally motivated, which means they resist deadlines and urgency from other people, but they also don't like to hold themselves to things because they want to change and they want to grow. Any decisions or commitments that they make at one time feel very stifling because they want the opportunity to be able to go with the flow and to change as they go. What's most important for a rebel is actually their identity. They want to decide who they want to be, and then they will make choices according to who that person is. And again, this can be frustrating if you have people in your life who are not as understanding of your motivation style, because it's very easy for them to say, well, there's just a deadline, or somebody told me to, or this makes sense. And if I just explain it to you enough, then it'll make sense to you. For a rebel, neither of those approaches will work. You have to focus on what are your values, what's important to you, and who is the person that you want to be in order to move forward. Now, I want to talk about each of these four types in more detail. And I'm laughing because the way that this shows up for highly sensitive people is just really funny and interesting and fascinating every single time. So as I started to tell you with the upholder, the benefit to being an upholder is that you are probably the highly sensitive person who can dig into new topics and learn new skills very easily. When you decide you want to do a project or you want to build new habits, you create the structures and the systems in order to do it, and you follow through even when you don't want to. You're probably someone who's very reliable. People come to you when they want something to be done or they want help with something because they know that you're the kind of person who gets stuff done, whether it's for yourself or whether it's for other people. The downside of being an upholder is that you probably take on way more than you should. You're draining your batteries doing things that are not necessarily important, even if they feel urgent or even if they are just kind of nice to have. And as an upholder, you are probably building up some resentments if you're out of balance because you're doing all kinds of things for other people and you're not balancing that well with the things that you want to do for yourself. As someone who's already prone to overwhelm, already prone to overthinking, and already taking in a lot of input, being an upholder can definitely come with its challenges. The solution for you, my dear highly sensitive upholder, is to ask for help and for clarification. If you are used to being the one who's always doing all the things and always handling everything, create systems and structures where you can actually get support from other people. And yes, that might require you having a conversation or having to teach someone or train someone on the front end to take care of something that you could do faster right now. But in the long run, you actually save so much of your time and your energy, your precious, highly sensitive energy, doing the things that are actually important to you instead of trying to do all the things for all the people and yourself all the time. One of the things that I carry over from my previous career as a professional organizer is a math problem that I absolutely love. It's so highly sensitive friendly, and I think you'll like it too. You might be able to do a task 100%. Your standards are very high, and you know you can get this thing done almost perfectly. But if you can do one thing 100%, and you can teach someone to do the same thing 80%, and they can do it 4 times, that's actually 320% to your 100%. This is very clear math. If you can only do one thing perfectly one time in a week or a month versus teaching someone to do it sufficiently 4 times in that same week or that same month, it is a no-brainer which one is going to be more effective for you. 320% is greater than 100%. Easy peasy. So this is going to be crucial for you if you're a highly sensitive upholder. Ask for help and take a little bit of time to set the reminders or to ask for the assistance or to help people create their own habits, because in the long run, it's going to save much more of your energy. Now, if you are an obliger, highly sensitive person, then this might cause a lot of angst for you. One of the benefits of being a highly sensitive obliger is that you're probably very relationship focused and oriented. You're great at connecting with people. You always follow through when there's someone else involved, and you're extremely reliable for other people. The downside of being a highly sensitive obliger is that you probably beat yourself up when you're not doing the things that you want to do. You want to learn, you want to take in more input, and you want to do more of the things that are important to you, but without that external accountability, it just feels so hard. And then, of course, your thoughts and your judgments pile on top, and you slow yourself down from actually getting the assistance that you need. The nice thing about being a highly sensitive obliger is that there are lots and lots of ways to be externally accountable in order to get the things done that you want to get done. Since most of the population are obligers, most of the world is built around external accountability, and it's become very accepted for you to pay someone or to ask for help or to build a community and build connections around doing the same things. This is going to be really fun for you because this gives you so much variety in how you handle things as a highly sensitive obliger. Number one, you could pay someone. If you are much better with a personal trainer, if you like working with a coach or a therapist, if you like hiring people in order to help you get things done, or even just to do the things, like if you benefit from hiring a cleaner or someone to handle errands for you, then this is perfect for you. Then anytime you have a challenge, all you have to do is find that external accountability. Ask a buddy if they will do the project with you or do some co-working with you. I recently published an episode about having high sensitivity and ADHD, and co-working is so crucial if you have ADHD and often when you have high sensitivity. It helps you feel like you're not doing it alone and that there are options available for you, but it also feels like you're amplifying your energy and your impact because you know you're working at the same time as someone else. So if you know that you work better with someone else as your accountability partner, then hire someone when you need some help with something specific. There are coaches and professionals for every single problem under the sun. Number two, ask for help. Ask your loved ones if they will go on a walk with you or text you and check in or ask you about how your new goal is going. Sometimes having that extra accountability from someone else is the little push that we need in order to move forward. You can also use all of our new first century social structures in order to get things done too. This could be posting something on Facebook and saying that you're going to do something, because then all of your Facebook friends know what your goal is and they'll know whether you reach it or not. If you are a business person, this could mean sending out your newsletter, updating your blog, creating the content every single week because people expect it. And of course, you don't want to make anyone feel upset or disappointed. This is perfect for an obliger. I have even heard some extremes of using the obliger motivation style to get things done, like write a check to an organization with whom you completely disagree and hand it to someone that you know is going to keep you accountable. If you don't follow through on your goal, then they get to send that check to that organization that you really disagree with. This might be the perfect way for you as an obliger to meet that expectation without necessarily having to have a lot of contact with someone, but you know that there's something hanging over you that is going to make you want to complete your goal. Number 3, if you're a highly sensitive questioner, the benefit of this is that you are probably already looking inward often. You are an expert self-reflector. You love analysis. You love input. You love bringing in new information and learning new things and problem solving. So your high sensitivity is already probably benefiting you as a questioner in general. The unfortunate downside to questioners, which I already brought up earlier, is that sometimes you might be annoying people with how many questions and how much information you're seeking. This can bring up a lot of embarrassment or guilt or shame or fear because you don't want to put anybody off or you don't want to disappoint them. And so your high sensitivity might be triggered by this need for more information and more resources because you're afraid of other people's judgments and what they think of you. Now, as far as making decisions and actually getting things done, being a questioner is fantastic for you because you are excellent at making decisions about what you want to do, gathering all of the information to make an informed decision, and then following through on that process. Your big downfall comes from other people distracting you or making judgments or sharing opinions that don't align with what you want, or feeling like you're being imposed upon by your job, your family members, your relationships, or any other external forces. The key for you, my dear highly sensitive questioner, will be to, number 1, set the expectations. If you find that people are like, oh, why are you asking me so many questions? All you have to do is say, this is the way that I learn. All I need is some additional information. I'm not asking you because I think you're wrong, and I'm not asking you because I'm trying to disprove anything. I'm asking you these questions because I want the information in order to make an informed decision. A lot of times people will understand this, and any defensiveness or any prickliness that they might be feeling about your questions will probably dissipate at this point. If there's someone who's like, well, I just don't understand why you can't just do it because I asked you to, that's okay. It's okay that they have their own opinions and that they think things should be different or that you should be motivated a different way. That's completely okay. You can continue to say, that's all right. I understand that you are motivated in a different way, but this is how I'm motivated. And you, as someone who's internally motivated, can absolutely advocate for yourself and stand up for that perspective. In fact, the more that you do that, the more you actually teach other people the benefit of taking in information, processing it, and analyzing it in a very methodical and detailed way, and then coming up with the best case solution on the other side. For people who tend to rush into things and be very impulsive, sometimes that spontaneity is amazing, but sometimes it gets them in trouble. You, as a questioner, are much more thoughtful. You are much more interested in gathering information and learning new things, and you're much more interested in coming up with creative solutions to problems. These are all benefits, and just setting those expectations and maybe setting some boundaries with other people might be a great way for you to do the things that you want to do. A simple, hey, I'm not going to be available for the next hour because I'm focusing on the thing that I want to focus on, might be exactly what the other person needs in order to give you your space so that you can do the thing you want to do. Now, the 4th type, the rebel. This is my favorite because the rebel is the least common motivational type. It goes obligers, questioners, upholders, rebels. Rebels, as I said, have the pro of actually being people who do not just say yes to things. This is so good as an upholder to have a rebel in your life because a rebel is the first person who's going to say, no, thank you. I'm not interested. I want to do this other thing, or I'm not going to say yes just because you want me to say yes. They are not people who feel obligated to do anything. Rebels are really good to have around because they remind us of what's really important in our lives. If you are a rebel, this is your pro. You know the benefit of living in your values, following your own preferences and priorities, and really harnessing your own good qualities instead of trying to chase things that other people tell you are important. Of course, the downside is also that you might have a lot of resistance to doing things that other people ask you to do. You might have a lot of resistance to digging in and getting deep on things, or feeling like you're stuck somewhere. If you've made a commitment to something and you change your mind later, as a rebel, you might have this sense of feeling restricted, or that you have made a mistake, and then you take on this persona as someone who doesn't know how to make decisions. This is not the case. The only thing that's happened is that you made a commitment with a time frame that didn't fit the way that you naturally ebb and flow in your life and make changes. That is perfectly okay. It's okay to change your mind, and that is the gift of the rebel. Being able to change your mind, to go with the flow, and to be present with the person that you're being right now. Of course, the con is the restriction and the stuck feeling and the frustration that can come when you feel like you either don't have a direction or you don't like the direction that something is going in. If you are a highly sensitive rebel, and again, this is the most uncommon type. High sensitivity is a minority and the rebel is a minority. So if you are a highly sensitive rebel, the thing for you to do is to keep coming back to your internal identity every single time you make a decision. Anytime you start to feel stuck, anytime you start to have that resistance, anytime you start to feel frustration or disappointment, come back to your inner values and come back to your identity. This is a huge gift to show other people, particularly obligers, how to come back to your own inner authority and how to be the person that you want to be. The rebel is the most embodied because they're so present and they're so mindful. And when they're really in balance, they keep coming back to themselves and they show the rest of us how to do that. You, as a highly sensitive rebel, are the ones setting the stage for other people to learn how to tap back into their own values, their own preferences, and their own qualities. Rebels are some of the most creative people, and they also get a lot done. They like to dive into things because that's part of who they want to be in that moment, but they also give themselves a lot of flexibility to change their minds, and they don't feel guilty about it. They don't feel like they've done something wrong. They just keep coming back to center. Now, I hope that this episode was really helpful for you to learn about your motivation style as a highly sensitive person. It shows up in some really interesting and fascinating ways. There's pros and cons to each, and there's also a way that you can recenter and use your motivation style to your advantage instead of feeling guilty or disappointed or like you can't get anything done. Now, if you're wondering what your motivation style is, I highly recommend that you get the Four Tendencies book by Gretchen Rubin, or you can go to stephanielynn.com, that's Linn, and the link will be in the show notes, and book a consultation call with me. We can talk about your motivation style in the call, and I can probably figure out some ways that you're not using your motivation style to your advantage if you feel like you're not meeting the goals that you want to meet in your life. It can be anything from as small as flossing more frequently to something as big as you want to make a whole career change or move to a different country and live there for a while. Whatever your motivation style is, you can use it to your benefit as a highly sensitive person to get the things that you want. And I would love, love, love to help you get there. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode, and I will see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to stephanielynn, that's Linn.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSB.